Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we're talking about the big picture. Welcome everyone to Make Limited Podcast. This is your host, John. I am excited to welcome you today. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome once again. Thank you for stopping by. If you are running right now on the treadmill, if you're headed to work, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I'm telling you, you are in the right place at the right time, listening at the right moment. Today we're talking about the big picture. Okay, you may have heard this in another way as the bird eye view. Okay, now this have similar context of what they both mean in different ways to say it. Now these are metaphors to something that is a full complete perspective of an issue or a situation. That is pretty much what we're talking about when we say the big picture. And when we say about the bird eye view, we're talking about the general view from above, or as if form above. Okay, now if you ever seen one of those videos on YouTube or something from a bird flying in the mountains like an eagle or a hawk, you can see the whole city, right? Or if you've seen pictures of a helicopter, or you've seen pictures of telescopes, or not telescopes, I'm sorry, the satellites we have from above that are, or going to even Google and looking from the upper area of above to down here at the earth of how things look, you see an overall view or a complete view of an image, right? Whether it be land, whether it be a city, whether it be a building, you can see it. You see everything that is in there, right? Now, of course, this is not detailed stuff. This is just an overview of what is happening, right? Of what's going on. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is because it's something that I believe is going to help you be productive, help you in the process of your life, the things that you're going through. And not only that, it's going to help you also reach your overall end goal. This is why I want to talk about the big picture, because I believe it's something that we all need in our lives. Okay, we need it because we need to see the big picture. Not everyone can do this. And does it come naturally, right? Some people need to build that up. Some people are super close to, or vision focus, and they don't know the outcome of things are going to be, but they're hoping that whatever they're doing 100% and it can lead to something. So how do we avoid the uncomfortable not being able to see what the future is going to look like? Well, by seeing the big picture. So today we're going to see this, and we're going to talk about it in a different point of view that you probably never heard this be said before. So I'm excited to talk to you about this because I believe it's something that's going to be new to your life. It's going to help you in your perspective and how you see things, productivity. It's going to help you in your process of when you're going through life, and it's going to help you in your reaching your overall end goals. That is our focus for today. So let's get into it right now. Today, I want to talk to you, and the first part of this which is the different point of view. I want to talk about senses. Okay? What about senses? What does that even mean, right? Well, as humans, we all have a sense. Okay? We all have 5 senses that we apply in our lives on a daily basis. If you are not aware of it, or if you are, we all have it. Okay, and let's talk about these senses, right? What are these senses? And they're very simple. We have sight, we have hearing, we have smell, we have taste, and we have touch. Okay? Those are all the hearings that we have. Those are all the senses that we have. Okay? As humans, we apply it every day to literally go throughout our lives. And these are things that protect us from situations, that guide us, that lets us function as humans in this world. Without the senses, without any of the senses, we would have a very difficult time living in this earth. And we've read stories. We read a bunch of stories of people who don't have these senses. Some benefit from it. Some have a very difficult time in their lives, right? Like, for example, one huge one, Helen, which I believe didn't have hearing and was mute, I believe. And, and when I say benefit from this, it's not in a, how can I say, I'm saying that, don't get it wrong when I say this part, when I say benefit from it. But what I'm trying to say with the benefit area, I'm saying I understand that there's missing one sentence and that is not something that someone benefits from. But when you look at the positive side, your other senses become stronger because of that missing sense, because they have to make up for that sense that they don't have. Thus, it becomes stronger for your hearing, ears, or whatever sense you're missing. Whatever sense are working than those that are not, because they have to make up for that sense that they're missing, right? Now, I hope we understand that part. I'm not trying to, bash that area in any way, but I am trying to see the positive side to this. And going back, we're talking about the big picture. Now, what do the senses have to do with the big picture or the bird eye view? What is it about? What do they even have to do with anything? This is things that we use on a basis level every day of our lives. So I want to talk about this in a different perspective, okay? And kind of make them into metaphors for you so that you can relate to it and use it in your life. So let's start off with our first one, which is sight. Now, what is it about sight that allows us to see the big picture? Now, it's very easy for us to say what it allows us to see, and that is correct. It allows us to see physically, through our eyes. Now, this is something without it, it would be very difficult to move around, okay? And the reason why this is so crucial when it comes to seeing the big picture is because physically, just as you focus on something, when you have, when you're right now, if you focus on one thing and you just focus in as hard as you can, you're literally blurring everything out, and that is the only thing that you see. This is the focus of a process, okay? This is the focus of the big picture. When you see everything that is happening in front of you, the big picture, you are able to see every part of the process from beginning to middle to end. You are able to see everything. And that is very important because you need your eyes to see. You need your eyes to see where you're at, how you're doing, how's your process, where's your growth. All those things are important. And through that vision, through that sight, physical seeing, you're able to see what is going on in your life. And that makes a picture in your brain, and that causes your chemicals to react to what you are seeing. That's why it's very important when it comes to seeing the big picture. When you're able to see it in your mind, it becomes reality. And that is something that we talked about before in our podcast when we're talking about the power of our thoughts, right? The power of what we think of ourselves in our minds. You can go back and you go look at it in the podcast. You will find it there. I'm telling you, it's going to be a life changer. So we have sight. What else do we have? We have smell. Now, this is the metaphorical area of our smell. Now, we talked about sight. Sight is what you see with your eyes that creates a picture in your mind that makes it real, right? Now, we have smell. And the smell of the big picture is the vibe, okay? the vibe that you get through the big picture. What is going on with this vibe? Is it some good vibe that you're feeling? Is it, something that in the area or the atmosphere feels good, feels great, you're heading in the right direction, and you're letting kind of what we like to say your gut guide you there, right? And most of you feel that sense when you're somewhere, whereas where we get the word, stranger danger, because you feel that this person is a stranger and it's danger. Or you go to a place to meet people, and right off the bat, you get this strange vibe from them, right? Strange feeling, something that's not right. And sometimes with some people, you get this amazing feeling that you're like, wow, we're connecting here, right? And one of the best pictures to see this as is dogs. Dogs are great at sensing things, if they're good or they're not. Why? Because they can't speak. So that sense becomes stronger. Now, speaking, I mean, they can't physically talk as humans, but they can bark, they can make sounds, which alerts people depending on the pitches that they give, or alerts other dogs of what is happening, right? You can tell this if you are listening. Now, that's why smell, for me, is translated into the vibe of the atmosphere. What is going on with your big picture? What is the vibe of your big picture? Do you sense that it's going in a good direction? Do you sense that there's stuff that you need to fix in there, that you need to readjust? That's why you have the smell. That is the vibe of the big picture. What is happening? What do you smell in this vibe? Secondly, we have the taste. Now, taste is very, very important, okay? Because as the smell is the vibe of the atmosphere, taste is the emotion, okay? It's the emotion that you feel at the time. And the reason why I say, and I talk about emotion to you, that is a tool to make decisions, okay? I know a lot of people say don't let your emotions guide you, but the emotions are there to guide you. Now, they are not a demand or a command for you to obey. They are suggestions, because they alert you of something that you feel at the moment, and you either use it as a lever or you use it as a warning. Those are the things that you decide according to what you see, your sight, your smell, all those combined, to what you taste, the emotion that you're feeling at the moment. Those are guides for you, right? They're emotions for you that are leading you to a certain place, okay? So if you can taste that emotion, you can feel in that moment that you're feeling good, right? You're feeling good, your vibe is good, and you're going to move ahead. This is seeing the big picture, okay? We're talking about seeing the big picture. So now that we have sight, which is what you create in your mind, right? What you see and create in your mind to make it real. We have the smell, which is the vibe of the atmosphere. How does the big picture feel to you? Complete. And we have the emotion when you are in those moments. What is happening, right? They are guides, suggestions that you should take to consideration. Not avoid them, not kick them away, because sometimes, you get fear, and that fear is actually motivation to move forward, right? You push yourself, the bravery. And sometimes that fear is to protect you, and you got to step away from those things, right? So our next one is touch. Now, touch for me are the memories recorded in your mind, okay? This is the touch that allows you to create that wisdom, that experience, and allows you to create memories in your mind that you record, okay? And the reason why this is important for us to know in the big picture is because if you do not memorize or record this time and space that you went through in a certain circumstance, and you face it again in a different area with the same situation, you're literally going to react back to what they call fight or flee, right? I believe something like that. And if you have the same thing repetitive happening to you in that situation, you're going to react to it the same way every single time. That's why the memory or the recording of your touch is supposed to give you that experience, that wisdom for you to know what to do the next time. That's why you record it. You either write it down in a book, which is something that I love doing. I have a bunch of notes of things that I've done through my life that allow me to go back, and I title them, because you have to title them, okay? Because if you don't title them or you don't categorize them, it's really hard to find. So that's what I do, because I go back through my history of life to find that experience, to know how I reacted and the outcome of that experience. Was it a good outcome or was it a bad outcome? Was it something that was prosperous or something that just destroyed relationships, the atmosphere, my whole perspective of things, right? That's why touch for me is super important when it comes to memory, because it allows you to have that wisdom of what to do in situations so that you won't keep doing the same mistakes repeatedly every single time you face that mistake, but instead you're able to improve yourself on a daily life, and become that better human that you know you can be. Now, lastly, we have hear. Now, hear is simple. Listen, right? Which is something very hard to do. Very hard. And one of the best things that I can point this to is when you're watching a trailer in a movie, or you're watching a movie. Sometimes when you're so focused on the movie, and this is what we're talking about, big picture, right? When you're so focused on the movie and the visuals and the acting, and this is how you know when it's a good movie, when you just listen and you're just watching where the story is taking you, right? And you forget about the camera movements and all this stuff. That's a great story, right? Told visually. But when you start listening to the story or to the trailer, you start understanding and you start asking the right questions. Okay? This is why listening is so important when you read a book, when you're watching a movie, say for example, to understand, and when you're going through life, when you're talking to people, when you're meeting different people in different areas. Very important to listen, because everything that comes out of their mouth is an experience of what they've gone through. They talk to you about a certain situation. They talk to you about a circumstance that they went through. Every part of their mouth, word that comes out of their mouth, is a part of them. Something that they've gone through. But we don't know this because we're not paying attention to what is happening. So when you look at the big picture, it allows you to listen to everything that is going on in your life. People who are around you, people who are, keeping you down, or people who are pushing you up. Who is it that we give honor to? Who is it that we need to cut off, right? And one of my best things to bring out is two things. One, you got to let the weeds grow with the right fruit, or the weeds grow with the right grain or something. The point of that is you let both grow, right? The good weeds and the bad weeds, you let them grow, or the good grass and the weeds. And then when it comes time to cut the grass or just uproot them or harvest, you're able to pull both of them and throw away the bad and keep the good. This is what listening and hearing does. Second thing is, one of the quotes that I enjoy, because it's something that has taught me a lot, and that is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If you've heard it before, I've heard it a bunch of times in movies, bunch of quotes, and where it's been used in history. And the point of this is to be able to face your enemy by making friends with their enemy, so that they can be attacked on both sides, right? Now, this is no case I'm inspiring to attack your enemies, but I'm saying the metaphor of that works for me in this situation when you listen, because you're able to see and you're able to hear what's going on in your life. Same thing as when you're making relationships, you're able to see how people are, in some sense, are either using you or helping you. Are either taking advantage of you or are helping you move up another level. And that's what you want. Those are the people that you want next to you. But also, you don't want to just throw away people who are there because you need to listen to what they're saying. So at the very end, when their fruits, in other words, right, their true character comes out, you are able to separate your good friends from your bad friends. And you're able to use them at an appropriate time when you need them, right? And that's why it's very, very important in my life experience to have, which I recommend you do, to have multiple friends of different areas, but mainly to have rich friends. And the important thing of having rich friends is that in any case that you do have this, they were able to help you in your time of need. Okay? This is a good thing to have around you. Okay? Because when it's time for that opportunity, that help, they're there to help you as well as you are to them, right? So this is the important part of listening when it comes to the big picture. Everything that you do, you're using your five senses in this big picture to see where you are at, how things are running, how your emotions, right, your taste, your vibe is in the atmosphere of where you're at, because it's going to help you through the process, and it's going to help you to the beginning and to reaching your overall end goal, which is what we're going to next. We're going to talk about what does the big picture consist of, okay? And this is very important because when you ask this question, you want to know, why should I even use this, right? I get it. I need to use the big picture, I need to see what's going on in my life, where it's heading. I get it, but what does it consist of? You're telling me to use the sights and smell, taste, touch, and hear, but how do I use them? How do I actually apply this to my life? So I want to attempt to help you understand this by talking about it in three different areas: beginning, middle, and end. Simple. 1, 2, 3, beginning, middle, and end. And the important part about this is that you have a beginning, which is the start of the journey. You have the middle, which is the process, right? And you have the end, which is the end goal, where you want to be at the very end. Now let's start with the beginning. What does the beginning consist of when you're talking about the big picture? The big picture consists of starting the journey, but it doesn't just consist of the start. It also integrates with the planning, okay? In other words, it gives you the starting point. You cannot start with the big picture without having the plans, the blueprints out there for you to see how things are going to look in the very end. That's why the beginning is super important when you're going to do anything in your life. Now, I've heard and I've seen people just go out there and start, but ultimately in that beginning, when they're beginning to see things, they start noticing that they need to plan things, either be daily, monthly, weekly, yearly. They need to know this. Why? Because it's going to help them grow and move forward. They learn to understand that there needs to be a certain order in their life that they need to apply on a daily basis, create routines, create structure, create schedules, create appointments, all these things that intertwine together to reach an ultimate end goal. This is where the beginning, a start of a journey, is going to intertwine with planning. Because in order to see the big picture, you need to see from before the beginning and before and after the end. Because when there's an ending, there's always a beginning, not too far away. So, and this is something that is super important in our own lives, because we need to understand that success is not just one time thing. Okay, I used to think that success was one time thing, but I realized that success was with retirement. And the thing with retirement and success is that we believe we achieve something and we're like done and we're finished and that's it the rest of our lives. But that's not the way our actual world works. After retirement and after success, we're not done, because we still have things that we need to take care of. There's still things that we need to complete in our lives, and that's an everyday goal, everyday life. So what do I look what do I look at success like? I look at it like this. It's a goal that you accomplish every time. When you finish with this goal, you go to the next one, and you go to the next one. And it's just goals that you reach and you complete. That's what success is for me. It's not a one-time thing, but it's actually a multiple things that you complete. So let's talk about the middle now. The middle is the process. It is the roadmap, the guide, and the growth. Okay? The reason why the middle for me is the most important part than the beginning and the end, it's because it lasts longer. It's the part that you literally go through the stress, go through the anxiety, go through the excitement, go through the emotions. You go through a process, your roadmap that you created, the guides of your emotions, the people that you surround yourself with, the experiences that you have that let you grow. It all happens through the process. And without this process, we can't move forward to the end goal. We need to go through the process. And this process, the best way to describe it is the hero life, right? Or the hero story, where it begins with an idea, something that needs to be fixed, or something that you want to accomplish, a goal. You go through the process of reaching it. You have your struggles, you have, your successes in that process until you reach to your end goal, where the ultimate goal of that end goal is that you reach it with the new character in mind, with a renewed person than from what you started. That is the point when it comes to the middle process, or the roadmap, the guide, the growth in that middle process. That's why it's super important for us not to just miss and go through the excitement, but also go through the boring parts of that process, because the boring parts, believe me or not, are actually the most growing areas of your life. It's a beautiful thing as a metaphor to plant a seed and have the fruits, right? It's a beautiful thing. The hard part is watering it, take care of it, putting new soil, trimming, right? So that you can grow this beautiful plant and it can produce those fruits. But if you don't do the middle process, the fruits will come, but they won't come the full potential as you put the effort to take care of that tree, right? Because ultimately, you cannot stop the outcome of something like a plant. It's going to grow or it's going to die, right? And ultimately, the fruits that you took care of through that process are going to be what you reap. And that's something we need to understand when we go into the process. Now, talking about the end goal is very important, because the end goal is where you want to be, okay? It's where you want to end up. It's how you want to see yourself at the very end. That is the end goal, right? So many times we want to be this hero, this thing that people look up to, this inspiration in our lives, but we just want it now. We want to have it now. And excuse me, and believe it or not, you can get it. We've seen it today in today's process in the media, where people who have no experience just automatically, boom, go up there, and because they have something as followers, they get to experience a lot of things, right? And with those areas, they come into a stressful life that they have to live because they weren't prepared for that process. And we've seen it over and over again, okay? That's why the process is super important when we reach that area. Now, this can be according to how much we apply it, how much we put into the process to get to the end goal. So the end goal is what you want to be, right? What you want to see yourself. Take any movies that you want. The character wants to be a certain way. At the end, he reaches that, but he sees life in a different perspective because of the process that he went through, right? And at the beginning, he was arrogant. Maybe he was unproductive, uncareful. not really caring about others. And in the end, now he's caring about others. He sees the reason why it's important to be productive. He sees the reason why it's important to really have people around them, to really see the big picture. They learned that all through the process, and they actually became better than what they were looking at the end, knowing that this is the most important part to understand of the end goal. And it's hard to understand this, but it's something that we need to understand. When you look at yourself in the beginning and you have an end goal that you want to be, know that there's always going to be different areas in your life that you're going to have to adjust during the process that's going to bring you into a different person than what you started with or that you saw yourself. Now, that person depends, again, when we talked about the plant, the way that you trim the plant is the fruits you're going to get. So from the beginning to the end, that is the fruits that you will have, which will always be different than what you actually saw yourself as. And it's going to be different according to how you trim yourself or you take care of yourself through that process. That's why it's very important when we're talking today about the big picture, because you're able to see from the beginning to the middle to the end and how things are going to turn out. During the process, you get to see different directions that you can go, the different areas that you can be. If you hang out with this friend, you hang out with that friend. If you connect with this company, if you don't connect with that company, if you listen to this advice, if you don't listen to this advice, where you're getting your information, the research, the hard work, everything. You get to see it and apply it when you begin. That's why the big picture or the bird eye view is really effective in our lives. That's why it's helped me really be productive. It's helped me in the process and my end goal, reach them. Why? Because I've applied this big picture of my own life to see where I would be. And it gives me an idea. It gives me a vision. It gives me something to look forward to every day in my life. Why? Because I have a goal. I have an excitement. That's why if you are thinking about retirement, for me, this is the way I look at my life. Even though there's a point in time where I would apply retirement, I will not. Why? Because every day of my life, I know that I'm looking at something to complete. Whether I reach the time or the age of retirement, I'm still going to push forward, and I'm not going to retire. In other words, that's what I'm saying, because I'm going to push forward every day to a goal that I want to reach, growing in that area. And the only thing that you can do if you don't grow, you die. I know it's black and white, but that's in the world that we live in, that's the process of everything. If you don't grow, you're dying. Process of trees, process of grass, process of even the bad weeds. If the bad weeds don't grow, they die. They shriver, I'm saying that wrong, and they stop growing, right? So they need to do what they do in order to grow. They need to take the nutrients from others, weeds, and grass needs that water, needs that sunlight, right? Just like us, we need that experience. We need those people around us. We need that advice. We need those research, hard times that we're trying to reach, those boring times, those good times, those sad times, the happy times, because that's what creates our life. That's what creates the big picture. Everything around it. So when you're looking at life, when you're looking at your process, when you're looking at your success, when you're looking at if you're in college, if you're already ahead of the game, if you are already an age, like I said, if you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. Secondly, you look at the big picture and you see what you want to do in your life. And no matter what happens, you're going to complete it, because that's the process of what you're doing. And of course, there's always adjustments within the process. Always adjustment. When people are writing movies, and the crazy part is that the rewriting of the script never stops, even when they're editing the video. Because sometimes when they are filming, right, it starts with the script, the first script. That first script is rewritten, like I don't know how many times, depending of the producers and the director and the writers that are writing a movie. They rewrite it and rewrite it until they find a place that this makes sense. This is a story that we want to tell. Then they go and act. And in that acting, there's some idea that comes up. There's some writing. Maybe something happens and they have to rewrite things to fit the story in a different way now, but still hitting their end goal, right? And then when the video is done, they go to the editing. Now they have to edit the whole movie. But there's something that they wanted to add that just, it's going to make the story more powerful. It's going to give that oomph to that story. So what happens? They have to rewrite that part, go and film it, bring it back, and put it in. And then at the very end, you have your overall end goal, which is completely different from the first script that was written. Completely. And it happens every single time. But that's the big picture. You're able to see everything that's going to happen and be ready for any circumstance that happens in your life. Why? Because you were prepared and you saw the big picture. And that's what the big picture is about, is to prepare you for anything that it should be in your way. And if anything happens unexpectedly, you're able to confront it or make changes quickly because you are prepared, you are structured, you are in a place that you can function properly, and you're able to turn things around and use them for good. And that is the beautiful thing about seeing the big picture. And I hope that you were inspired and motivated and you use this in your life to push you to be a better human. All right, everyone, you have come to the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to Make Limited Podcast. I hope that this has inspired you, motivated you to be better humans on today's podcast. We talked about the big picture or the bird eye view, and we talked about the senses, how we can use them metaphorically in our lives, and we talked about what does the big picture consist of. And we were able to see the beginning, the middle, and the end, and how to use our senses in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, which ultimately gives us a very successful life, which we learned are many things that you can do, multiple things that give you success, and it's an unending situation or event that happen in your life. So keep on succeeding, keep on being motivated and inspired, and keep on moving forward, creating that action, making that action, applying that action so that you can become that better human that you've always wanted to be. All right, guys, this was your host, John, with Make Limited Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if you want to get to us and talk to us, you can always reach us at our Facebook page, Make Limited Podcast, or our website at makelimitedpodcast.com. So thank you so much for stopping by, and we see you next time.